Welcome to the Business Growth Masterclass, where business growth is made simple. Listen as we interview real business owners and learn from their wins, their losses, and everything in between. Today's episode is a special episode with my co-host, Kellen Ketchersid, one of the co-founders of Stag Business Coaching. And in today's episode, we take a look back at the last year and discuss going from startup to established business and building a following and building raving fans that grow your business. And so without further ado, welcome to the podcast, Mr. Kellen Ketchersid.
Hey, Albert. Excited to talk about it. It's been quite a year, so we got a lot that we could unpack.
Yeah, I wanted to have an episode where we just kind of look back. I mean, we've learned a lot in a year, and so setting the table, we started Stag Business Coaching really a little over a year ago, about 13 months ago.
Yeah.
And went from zero to an established company in a year. And so I want to, kind of take a look behind the curtain, be a little vulnerable, and kind of share that journey a little bit with our listeners. And so let's start it off with, what was one of your biggest surprises this year in going from 0 to 1?
I was struggling with this question when we were thinking earlier. And one of the biggest surprises to me was just how things fall unexpectedly with clients and what they can do for you. If you have one client that thinks the world of you and is willing to tell other people about it, it can be huge for your business. We have one particular business owner that we work with who won't stop talking about us to other people, and we love it. And we're so grateful to her and for what she does for us. And I just see that with every client that we work with. It's our goal to turn them into, as you said earlier, raving fans. And I knew that referrals were powerful and word of mouth was an important thing for a business, but I don't know that I even understood until we were experiencing it, how powerful it could be. So that's been pretty cool. How about you? What's been a surprise for you this year?
Yeah. Well, first to comment on the raving fan thing is, man, that's what you want. And I don't think it can be overstated of how impactful, even one raving fan that's singing your praises, because, in today's world, I don't go see a movie unless someone refers me to go see that movie. I don't go to a new restaurant unless someone says, hey, you need to go check that out. And so having a raving fan, even one, is so impactful. And how you do that is really delivering more than what they expect.
Yeah.
Is going the extra mile. It's that unreasonable hospitality that we've talked about over and over and over. And that's so impactful. Surprises for this year for me is really how important getting reps is.
Yeah.
We started the consulting coaching business. Really, we're both operationally minded guys. Our brains thinking spreadsheets and checklists.
Yeah.
And over the last decade in our businesses, I've built, SOPs and work instructions and playbooks on how to execute what we do really, really well. And I knew we had a system that we could teach people that would improve their business. Right. But figuring out how to articulate that in a way that's like digestible and applicable for every business was kind of a wild card to get started. There was like a piece of me that's like, man, I don't know how I'm going to tell, Joe the plumber how to do marketing or how to, create whatever. how to systemize their business like that. There's still a little bit of a wild card there, but getting reps and explaining your own method over and over and over, you figure out how to make it relatable. And so I think that's for the startups that are really unsure of, it's not this perfect product yet, but it's this kind of like minimal MVP, this like minimal viable product that it's not perfect, but just get out there.
Yeah.
Like get some reps, over explain to your first clients of like how green you are at explaining this. But when you get reps, you exponentially improve.
Yeah. We, both of us, like you said, knew how to build systems, but we didn't know how to build a system of systems, if that makes sense, which is what you're really doing when you're coaching clients on how to grow their business. Because we knew right off the bat that if this thing were to grow and if it was going to scale into something that was more than just us trading our time for money, we needed to create a framework that any business owner could plug into and it still be useful for anyone, and not just feel canned. And developing that framework, that system around the systems that we already knew how to create, it was surprising to me how hard that was to do. But I feel great now that we've done it. And like you said, it was all, the only reason we were able to do that was because we dove in, even when we weren't ready in some aspects. But yeah, it was surprising that like, even though we knew we thought in systems and we like operations and streamlining and all of that fun stuff. But, building it into something that was scalable has been a challenge, but also very rewarding. So
do you feel like, I'm even thinking about, like where we've been in the last year and initially getting started. Do you feel like you kind of gave away the farm in the beginning?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we were just going to give everything we could to the clients, right? And we still want to do that for all of our clients. Of course, there's a point where as you grow, you only have so much time. So that's where I think having things that are replicable and also, growing your team as you reach the max capacity. So I think in the early days though, it was like, give them everything I got, because you want to win over every single client and turn them into that fan we were talking about, where they're the first thing they want to tell people is that Stag business coaching was the best money they ever spent. I'm proud that we're doing that we're building that reputation, and I still want us to carry that on. And we just have to take different strategies to do that as we grow. But yeah.
Question: looking back in the last year, what's like your thing you're most proud of with a client? Like something practical, take away from a client. What's something you're most proud of from the last year?
We had one client in particular who had been dealing with some regulatory burdens that were just daunting and really at their wits' end, didn't know even the next step to take, and they might lose the ability to sell in an entire market that was really important to their business. And one of the things we do at Stag Coaching, not only do we provide our expertise, but we also connect business owners to people who have specific areas of expertise that we don't. So we were able to search out and find the right person, another consultant to bring in who was a regulatory expert in this particular state where registration was needed. It was amazing how one 10-minute phone call with the right person lifted this elephant off the back of our client. And it was like years worth of stress was just gone. And now they had a stepwise process they could follow. They could sell their product into that market, and everything, it just was, the problem evaporated. And that was really cool to see. I guess it's kind of ironic that we didn't even solve the problem, but we connected them to where they needed to find the person they needed to find. And I doubt that they would have had the time or inclination to do that if we weren't able to do it for them. So that was a really rewarding one. I'm sure you've probably got some that come to mind too. I'm curious what you would say has been something that you're proudest of from what we've done in the coaching this year.
My favorite one, and this is my wheelhouse in our other businesses, that I love seeing the lights turn on in people's eyes whenever they get the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking of one client. We had multiple business owners and an operator of the business in the room, and we were going through the financials and what that means for the operation of the business. And initially, the operator of the business that works for the founders was a little defensive about, why are we getting consulting? Why are we in business coaching? Does this mean I'm doing a bad job? And was a little, understandably, was a little defensive to start. But the more we got into what we're trying to do, the bigger picture that the owners and co-founders want for the business, and then what does that mean for the day-to-day? What does that mean for the monthly financials? And to see the lights turn on in this lady in particular, to see the lights turn on in her eyes, and then for her to come to the next meeting with like 3 different things that's going to save the business thousands of dollars every year, that you're like, yes, she gets it.
Yeah.
She's thinking about the business like an owner. She's thinking about the big picture and the vision for the business, and can interpret that to what does she need to do every day, and what do her employees need to do every day to take the business from A to B. And that's like, that's the business acumen that you're really not taught. Like you're taught math and science, you're taught maybe a specific trade, but business as a bigger picture and as a strategic vehicle, you're not really taught that in school. And so getting to teach that and see the lights turn on their eyes, that was like, we got to see that over and over and over with different businesses. But that's my favorite thing is when people get the big picture of business and then can zoom in, and what does that mean in the day to day? And that's the secret sauce.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that you brought up in that story, if we were going to talk about what's been surprising this year, or an insight, I would say one thing that has been both surprising and an insightful thing for me as a coach is when we get a leadership team in a room, there's usually at least one person who feels a little bit attacked by the fact that business coaches have been hired. Because it's like, this is the part of our business that I do. Like that's my job that you're saying we're not doing a good enough job in, by hiring these guys. It's implied. And as business coaches, I think one of the things that's important for us to do is to find out or identify who that person is and make sure that they understand that we are not here to show them up or, make anyone look bad. We're really here to be your ally and to help you do your job with excellence. And so I think that's been surprising, but also it makes sense, that somebody's going to feel that way. One thing I'm proud of, and you just said it, is almost every time, I can't think of a time this didn't happen. We identify who that person is, and they end up being probably the most fierce champion for Stag business coaching by the end of our engagement with each other. So that's pretty cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked about the past, current. What does Stag business coaching look like today? I know we've made some strategic, partnerships and things like that. And so can you kind of talk about what does it look like today? What is a new client? What do they get, engaging in engaging with Stag business coaching?
Yeah. So our bread and butter has been our one-on-one coaching. And that's when we work with a business owner, or a team of leadership in a business, and work them through a 6-month process. So that system that we were talking about earlier, that basically streamlines your business, starting with your vision and your big goals and working all the way through until we have clear measurables, a dashboard that shows us where we're at with our business, and we can really run the business in a data-driven kind of way. Along with that, we have a marketing advisor on our team who we just added here recently, who is able to do website, provide social media support and content creation. So, in this coming year, we're going to be offering a lot more to our clients in the way of advisors in different areas of specialty. So that'll be something to look out for. And so that's the one-on-one coaching. And like I said, that's kind of our bread and butter. I love that because one-on-one with a client or a business is just very rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
And you really get to know each other well and feel like you're making a big difference. That said, there are some business owners that are just getting started, and a lower price point is what they need to really get going. So beginning in April, in partnership with local LBK, we're going to be rolling out a mastermind group that will be taking these business owners through a once a month group session where we walk them through a similar curriculum to what we do with our one-on-one. Obviously, it can't be as tailored, but still a ton of value for that once a month engagement. And then they get a lot of follow-up that they get to do in the month in between so that they have can see a lot of growth and change in their business over that yearly mastermind. So we have the once a month mastermind group. That's our lowest offering that we're rolling out in April, and the one-on-one coaching. And then once our clients graduate out of our one-on-one coaching program, the next offering that we have is our executive leadership offering. It's a premium offering where we basically join your leadership team as part of our consulting. And so for those clients, they get the most time and attention that we can provide, and just a higher level offering version of the one-on-one. So help them continue to run their business, to think about their strategy in their market area, and then just a lot more support from our advisory team.
I love it. There's so much that has been fine-tuned, and you find the needs, as you get to know your clients.
Yeah.
You figure out, what are the common needs that businesses have, and how can you deliver on that? And I think that's what we've tried to do with the monthly workshop, where you're going to meet other business owners and you're going to hear their problems, and we're going to solve problems together and work them through a prescriptive curriculum that gets their business into a more streamlined and better data-driven decision-making, over several months. And so I am super excited about that, and really just building out more and more capacity, bringing on other coaches and other advisors that can help our clients, give them what they need.
Yes.
And so, I don't want to look at everything as a hammer looking for a nail. And so we've tried to put a lot of work into that over the last several months, of how can we have the right advisor for the specific business. And so I know the podcast has played a role in this. And, being a little vulnerable with the podcast, when we initially, we hired a chief marketing officer to help us promote the business and grow the business. And one of the first things he said was like, all right, well, we're going to make a podcast.
Yeah. And I was like, what?
Yes. You're like, I don't talk so good.
Yeah.
I don't know the first thing about making a podcast. And I think I might have been the most adversarial towards that, where I did not want to do that. But that has been my biggest surprise for the last year is how much fun I've had making this podcast with you.
Yeah.
And really, like, the conversations you get to have. I've said this over and over, a lot of these guys have been just our close friends, and there's only, so many socially appropriate questions that you can ask your friend who's a business owner at a birthday party or a hangout. And then when you get them in this room and you get to ask questions about them. You get to kind of dive in deep and ask them, what's your biggest win? What's your biggest loss? And
Mhm.
what have you learned from that? And the answer is like everybody has amazing stories. And business owners especially, they're the people, they are the men in the arena,
Yeah.
daring greatly. Like I think of
Right.
that often. Like they're not the cynics on the side that are just, analyzing and thinking about the what ifs. They're the guys in the arena, like
Doing the
blood,
work.
doing
Yeah.
the work, blood, sweat, and tears, putting themselves on the line over and over and over. And you have a real story. And
Yeah.
I have enjoyed this so much. And the people we've gotten to meet, the conversations we've gotten to um, have been surprising. And this has been a really good tool to promote our business, but also promote our friends' businesses and tell their story. And it's something that they can share with all of their clients, kind of get a look behind the curtain and see how the sausage is made and how much they do care about their people and their clients and what they do. And man, I'm I've really enjoyed this.
Yeah, me too. And surprising how much I've enjoyed it. I felt the same way in the beginning. It just didn't feel like me, but it's been fun. And I think we've gotten better at it. It was I think it was like episode 3 or 4. We finished recording and we both looked at each other and we were like, do we really want to do this? And I I honestly was ready to throw in the towel that day if you were. And I'm so glad we did. But yeah, this coming year, I'm excited about the idea of interviewing more people, especially, West Texas and Lubbock business owners, as well as some other guests, maybe some national guests, and some people who are going to be fun to learn from and see what insights they have for us. So I'm looking forward to what the podcast has to offer here for all the people listening in 2025.
Same. That is, our name, the Business Growth Masterclass. It's really that big picture business that you're not taught in school.
Yeah.
That, what does that mean down in the weeds in the day to day with boots on the ground? That I'm excited to meet some entrepreneurs and business owners that are playing the game at a bigger level and distilling those lessons for our people. And so for our listeners. And so I appreciate you guys listening.
Yeah.
The future of business Stag business coaching and the podcast are exciting.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for the rest of 2025. And so thank you guys for listening. And if you want more like this, click subscribe and keep coming back. We're really excited for what we have to bring you guys in the future. Thanks.